Hello, I'm Dr. Curt Levang. I'm a licensed psychologist and licensed marriage and family therapist. In this video, I'm going to demonstrate a very powerful psychological technique called a structure. A structure is like virtual reality in that it reshapes miserable life experiences in order for your present self to be complete and whole. Interested? Let's begin. Hello, Bob. I'm Dr. Curt, and this is Tim and Mary who will be helping us today. In PBSP therapy, we want to change the entire memory in order for you to experience the entire event in a way that satisfies the unmet need. To do that, I have brought Tim and Mary as accommodators. They will role play an ideal mother and an ideal father for you. They will be available to help you experience your history in a whole different way. Let's go back to remembering being 7 years old and how you felt. Think about being 7, but now having an ideal dad that would not have been a drunk, not have hurt your mother, and who you wouldn't have had to be afraid of.
I can't even imagine that. My father had a hard life. His mom was a violent alcoholic who had been abused as a child. She committed suicide when my dad was only 14.
That must have been very tragic for your dad. You may have, on some early unconscious level, stepped in and tried to be your father's parent, tried to give him what he was missing in his own childhood. We call this holes and roles. A child hears stories of their loved one being hurt or unjustly treated and attempts to caretake that loved one. This stunts the child's own developmental process as they take on an adult role far earlier than appropriate. They become good at giving but poor at receiving.
I can't accept compliments or gifts from others. It makes me really uncomfortable to rely on others.
Exactly. Let's expand the time dimension to see your father as a 14-year-old. We need to give that 14-year-old boy an ideal mom who never would have had alcohol problems. But first we need to address her abuse as a girl. What she needed was ideal parents, parents who would have truly loved her and kept her safe. I'm going to use these figures to make a movie about your dad being 14 years old. We will use this small elephant to be your dad. Imagine him seeing his mom when she was young. Let's use this elephant for your grandmother, and let's give her ideal parents. You are now enrolled as ideal parents. And they say to their daughter, if we would have been your ideal parents, we would have never left you home alone with your uncle, and we would have never let your uncle abuse you. See how much different life would have been for your grandmother with ideal parents. See how different it feels to see your dad not having to take care of his mother. Now we can enroll an ideal mom for your 14-year-old dad. You are enrolled as Bob's father's ideal mother. If I would have had these kinds of parents, I would have never turned to alcohol and never committed suicide when you were 14. See how that impacts your dad.
I feel a sense of sympathy for him. I've never felt that way before.
Good. Let's take that one step further. Let's have this ideal mom say to you and point to your dad, "It was my job to parent your father, not yours." Imagine how wonderful it would have been for your father to have that kind of loving mother.
Wow. I feel relief and touched because I never knew any of this had an impact on me.
Yes, let's go back to you being 7 years old. I want you to imagine having this new ideal dad with this new kind of history. Now I know this is different, but I'd like to offer that you have Tim and Mary enroll as your ideal parents.
Okay, what do I do?
You will have them enroll just as I did with the elephant figures. After you ask them if they will enroll as your ideal parents, they will each say to you, "Yes, I will enroll as your ideal dad and as your ideal mom. Where would you like us to sit?"
Okay, sounds good.
I will enroll as your ideal mom.
Yes, I will enroll as your ideal dad. Where would you like us to sit?
On either side of me, on the couch.
Let's start with having your ideal dad say, if I'd have been your ideal dad and had those ideal parents, I never would have been an angry alcoholic who was mean to your mother and getting fired from work. And he also would have said, if I'd have been your ideal dad, you would have felt safe with me.
If I'd have been your ideal dad and had those ideal parents, I never would have been an angry alcoholic who was mean to your mother and gotten fired from work. And if I would have been your ideal dad, you would have felt safe with me.
Now your ideal dad says, I would have been completely different than your real dad, and I would have been able to keep jobs and not lose my temper. And I never, ever would have brought Buster to the pound.
I would have been completely different than your real dad, and I would have been able to keep jobs and not lose my temper. And I never, ever would have brought Buster to the pound.
I'm noticing that you're moving closer to your ideal dad. Would you like this ideal dad to put his arm around you as you imagine this new memory?
Yes.
You look peaceful and content. Let's have these ideal parents say, if we would have been your ideal parents back then, life would have felt this peaceful and content.
If we would have been your ideal parents back then, life would have felt this peaceful and content.
Imagine what life would have been like for you at age 7 and 10 and 15 and 20 and all the way until today. I want you to make a new map in your mind and body of what we just experienced, so that you can leave the session with new possibilities for yourself and take with you an understanding of how life can be different. Part of you that was never validated or allowed to live can now come to life, and your body knows the difference.
Wow, this is awesome. I feel so much better.